Alright, so I know I've been going for a while, but I'm back. I had to take a break from the YouTube channel. I had my daughter. I had a lot of stuff going on, so and plus work. So I just needed to take a break to put that stuff on pause. But I did work on getting some new equipment to help me record my videos and make the quality of the videos a lot better. But guess what? I have my very first YouTube haircutting tutorial, and I need you guys to go check it out. Let me know what you like to see. Let me know what if I need to add anything, if I need to take anything out. So go ahead and do that for me. And without further ado, here goes that video. Let me know at the end of the video what you guys think.
Alright, so right here I'm using my Asta 76ers. It's like my favorite blade. If you know me, I live and die by these clippers. So right now I'm using my 5/0 detachable blade, and I'm making my ball guideline. It's the first guideline, and I'm going to take this all the way around the head. And for me, I'm not one of those people that work in sections, like do a side, then one side, and then do the back. I go all the way around the head with each and every blade. But for video purposes, you're not going to see me go around the head with every blade. I'll primarily be working on the right side so you guys can see what I'm doing, and it's not extending the video. But for this client, I had to pull his skin up on his head because he has like some divots in the back of his head. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Sometimes it actually helps lift the hair up so that you can get a closer cut. I'm giving him a mid bald fade with a little combover type pompadour type thing. You'll see it at the end. But yeah, I don't focus on making this line like super perfect. I just want to make sure that it's balanced. So when you see me step back and move from left to right, that's what I'm doing. I'm checking for the balance right here. I'm checking for the balance and making sure that the fade isn't going to be lopsided. So that's what's really important to me. Alright, so right here I'm using my Andis T outliners, and the only reason I use these is because it helps me get a little bit closer before I use my 5-star shavers, because I don't like my 5-star shavers to have a harsh sound like they're having a hard time working. So I use these just to get a little bit closer and clean up some of them longer hairs. See right here I'm using my 5-star shavers, just using a nice stroking motion, not scratching too much or digging into his head. And if I had to, sometimes I pull the skin up like I said before to make sure that I'm getting a nice close cut. Make sure you're going all around as closest to that line that you can. You're going to have a nice bald section. Make sure it's smooth. If you don't have a pair of 5-star shavers, I suggest you get some as a barber. Alright, right now I'm using my 4/0 detachable blade, and I'm not going to go too high because this blade cuts really close. So I'm just making it high enough so that it starts my fading process. You don't want to raise this too high because it can change a mid fade to a high fade real quick, like 0 to 100 real quick, and your client ain't going to be satisfied. Make sure you're brushing the hair down. I brush the hair down every couple strokes or whatever to make sure that the hair is out of the way. I'm working with a clean section. So this is my 3/0 detachable blade, and the same rule applies. Don't go too high with this blade. It cuts close and it still could raise your fade. I'm just making my second line. I'm just working on the appearance of the bottom section of the fade. Right here I'm working with my OA or 0A, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it a half blade. Now I'm going to go a little bit higher with this one, just right under a 1/2 inch or even a 1/2 inch at that, just to see my little transition start to begin, because you will see a transition start to begin here. Alright, using my 1 detachable blade, you're really going to start to see me move through the haircut a lot, through these lines, through this guideline. And I'm going to be really selective, and the reason why I go back and forth so many times is because I'm trying to decide if I want to go up a little bit more, because right now I'm working on a transition area, and you want your transition area to be really nice and kind of wide. The wider the transition area, the better the fade is going to look. So like I said, for video purposes, you're not going to see me go around every time, but I do go around sometimes. So I'm just, like I said, I'm being real selective. I go back and forth a few times just in case I feel like I need to go a little bit higher. And you don't see me do it every single time, but I do look in the mirror to check the balance. So make sure you're checking that balance. Make sure you're brushing that hair down. Make sure you're doing those things. It's going to be little things that matter at the end of the day. Alright, so this is my 1/8 detachable. It's a ceramic blade. If you guys ever seen a metal 1/8, all metal 1/8, let me know. I never seen one of them. I would like to purchase one. I don't have a problem with the ceramic blade. They don't get hot, but I feel like the metal blades give you just a better cut overall. But I use my 1A very, very picky. I'm very picky with it. Like I said, I'm trying to decide if I want to raise the transition a little bit more. So I go back and forth a lot with my 1A because it's like the main transitioning blade in a sense. All right, so now I'm using my 1.5, and I'm pretty much high up in the fade now. So sometimes I might use the corners, but mainly I'm going to be using the whole blade just to cut and get up there and get that length down a little bit. Because right now it pretty much looks like the fade is done. So pretty much after this, I'm going to just be polishing up the blend. Like the blend is basically, the fade is basically, and now I just got to polish it up to make it look a little bit better. That's what you're going to see me doing here with my 2 detachable blade. Now I'm just polishing it up. So sometimes I use the corners, and I'm going to start switching around a lot. So I'll go from the 2, then drop down to my 1A. Start taking some lines out, start polishing some things up. And it's very important that you do this, guys. Like, try to get that main fade in, whether you're using guidelines and erasing them, or you going straight up like I do, or you blending down. Always take that time after the blend is primarily in to go and polish it up. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So I drop down to my 1, and just picking at little things, little dark spots that I see. There's nothing wrong with doing that, guys. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's been some time doing that. Yeah, I even drop all the way down to my T outliners to work out that bar line. This is my half. Working with my half, getting some of that. Use the corners. You gotta learn how to use the corners of your detachables, man. That gives you a little extra space, and it doesn't make them as aggressive. So I'm gonna turn them right here, and I turn around my T outliners to the cutting side because it actually cuts a little bit closer than when you turn them upside down. It like scratches those lines out in a sense. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I've seen other guys around the shop do it, so I gave it a try, and it actually did work for me. Right here, I'm using my Oscar fast feeds. I love these because they give me those increments in between the detachable blades that I can't get. And the blade moves so slow, it just gives you a really nice cut when you're using them to help you out with your blend. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm wetting the hair down. If you don't know how to cut straight hair, especially on top, this is like the bread and butter of cutting straight hair. I want you guys to really pay attention to what I'm doing here. And I don't use a lot of water to soak the client's head. I use just enough water so that I can control the hair. It shouldn't be running down his face and dripping him. You shouldn't have to wipe him down. You shouldn't have to do all that. So I call this the comb, grab, and cut method. And the reason I say that, you'll see comb, grab, cut. Mike being silly. I think Dave was talking about it. It was like, you gonna edit that out anyway, and I can't really edit that part out. It's kind of the important part. I think after I go through this section, it slows down so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. If I'm going too fast for you, you're gonna see. I'm gonna show you the triangular section of how I cut to my guideline and stuff like that. So here it goes, just a little slower section. See here, comb, grab, cut, snip, snip, comb, grab, triangular section, cut. So practice that. You can actually practice that without any hair, and it's a really good method, and it's gonna help you out. I promise you. Practicing. That's what I used to do. I used to just practice that. Right now I'm just checking the hair. I'm cross-checking. I cut horizontally, so I'm going to check vertically. Basically, you're just going across the head, making sure I don't have any pieces sticking up. So what I'm doing right here is I'm doing the the scissor over comb method to blend the top into the bottom a little bit. And this is the thin and shear over comb. I use this a lot. Thin and shear over comb. If somebody tell you that using your thin and shears to finish your blend isn't good, they're amateur. Don't listen to that. There's many different ways to do a good blend. Use whatever tool you gotta use to get it right. These are my Andis T outliners, the modified ones. Some people call them skeletons. I call them cut off because they're cut off. I don't really have any special name for them. But I'm just lightly tapping his hairline. I'm not giving him like a super hairline. I wanted to have more like a natural appearance for the haircut that he had. And these are really sharp, so I don't have to like cut really hard or press really hard on his head. Now I'm putting in the hard part that he asked for. And when you put in the hard part, I suggest that you put in like a draft part. Don't set it in really hard, because if you make a mistake, you won't be able to change it that much. You won't have no give in it. So draft it out really light, meaning don't go into the scalp. And then once you feel like it's good and the placement is good, then you could put your stamp on it. And after you do the top side, flip your clippers around and do the bottom side. And this take practice, so take your time. If you're not comfortable doing a part on somebody, don't do it, because you won't end up putting a landing strip in your head. So I'm just lining up the other side. Not going too hard, just pretty much cleaning the area up. Now, I was talking about this earlier. If you see a section that you feel like needs to be going over again, or an area in the blend that you don't feel like was blended well, just go ahead and blend it out. Pull your clippers back out and blend it. You don't want your client to leave out with lines in their head or dark spots in their fade. You want to try to make it the best way possible. Don't worry about the time. So at the end of the day, they're going to appreciate that you took the time out to make their fade look right, or whatever hairstyle or whatever haircut they're getting. So these are my Asa fast feeds again. Right now I got my two guard on there. And I'm just blending it out, flicking it out. And the reason why I did this at the end is because I had to blend the top to the bottom, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I just do it at the end. It doesn't matter when you do it, as long as you get it done. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting a razor to his hard part. Anytime you do a hard part, you should put the razor to it, but make sure you use some type of shaving gel or something to allow the blade to guide smoothly, because the hair on the scalp is a lot thicker than the hair around the headline. And if you're trying to dry razor it, it's going to be very uncomfortable, and you can also cause the client to bleed, and you don't want to do that. And make sure you're taking your time. What I'm doing here is I'm blow drying to style it. If you don't know how to do this, try to get on Facebook, buy yourself a blow dryer and a round brush, and practice it. Buy a mannequin and practice it, because it's going to help you a lot. I'm applying some American Crew fiber to his head to help style it. The blow dryer pretty much put it in the style that I wanted it to be styled in. The American Crew is just going to hold it and give it a matte finish. It's like my favorite product. It's a brand name. I styled it with the comb a little bit. Now I'm just pushing it in the direction that I wanted to. This is the finished product. I hope y'all like this haircut. If y'all have any questions about it, comments, or suggestions for other haircuts, let me know. Thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace.